Welcome back to the online classes of physics. This is your name is back again with a new topic is matter pure of ninth class, and we have learned about the homogeneous and heterogeneous mixture, isn't it? You have observed about the homogeneous mixture example. We have taken salt and water because the salt and water, they both are dissolving each other, so they are called as homogeneous mixture. And same salt we are taking with kerosene, then you can see that they are not dissolving. That means they are heterogeneous mixture. So today we will learn about the solution. All of us enjoy drinking soda water and lemonade, isn't it? We know that they are examples of homogeneous mixture, as I've already explained in my previous session. So the homogeneous mixture of two or more substances from which we cannot separate its component by the process of filtration or anything is called as the solution. Okay, what is happening in solution actually is the mixture. For example, we are taking lemonade or salt water. We are undergoing some other separation processes, but still we are unable to separate the salt and water. Okay, we are not able to separate this salt and water. Okay, for example, if we take the lemonade also, lemonade is nothing but the lemon juice, lemon plus soda, or you take this lemon juice, lemon salt and all. Okay, so when the process of any filtration is going on, if any filtration is going on, it is not able to separate. If you're not able to separate the substance, two substances from each other, that is nothing but it is called as homogeneous solution. Sorry, it's a solution. I have taken the example of this homogeneous solution, but the substance, when it is not able to separate from each other, the substance is not able to separate from each other, substance not able to separate from each other, then it is called as solution. By any process of filtration, it is called as solution. Fine. So this solution can be in the form of solid, liquid or gases. It can be in the form of solid, liquid and gases. Fine. So now a solution has minimum two components, a solvent and a solute. So whatever solution is there, it is made up of two components. First is solute and another one is called as solvent. So the solution comprises of two components, that is solute and solvent. The component of a solution that dissolves the other component in it, usually the components present in larger quantity, is called as solvent. The component of solution that is dissolved in the solvent, usually which is present in the lesser quantity, is called as solute. For example, if we take water and salt, okay, when we are mixing both and we are getting one solution. Now in this solution, the salt acts as solute. Okay, the salt acts as solute and the water acts as solvent. Fine. The water acts as solvent. The water which we are taking will be in more quantity, isn't it? And the salt which we are taking will be in less quantity. So here you can say that the water is acting as solvent as it is present in higher quantity, and the salt which is called as solute is present in less quantity. We can take one more example. We can take as water plus sugar. Okay, when we are taking a sugar syrup, when we are preparing a sugar syrup, what we'll do, we'll take water and we take sugar as, we'll dissolve both of this. In the solution, the sugar is solid form, isn't this is a solid form and this is a liquid form. Fine. And here what is happening, the solid form acts as the solute and the liquid formed here acts as the solvent. Okay, the solvent is liquid and the solute is solid. So now this solute plus solvent will give you solution. Okay, mixing this solute and solvent gives you solution. In the solution of iodine in alcohol also, you can take, when you take iodine and alcohol, iodine will take as solid and alcohol is liquid. Okay, so here iodine acts as the solute and the Iodine will act as the solute, fine, and alcohol will act as the solvent. So these are the few examples which we can see. All the aerated drinks are liquid solutions, like we have carbonated drinks, I said, like cool drinks and all. So those are also containing carbon dioxide gas as solute and water as the solvent. Now we'll learn what are the properties of the solution. In a solution, the particles are so small in size that we cannot even see them with our naked eyes. We need some, microscope to see them. They do not scatter a beam of light passes through the solution, and hence the path of light is not visible in the solution also. Suppose you are thinking to pass the light and see the solution, then you can see that the light which is passing through this solution, they are unable to cross this substance. They are unable to cross the solution, and hence we cannot see even the scattered beams also, we cannot see in them. And one more interesting property of this solution is the solid particles do not settle down when they are left undisturbed. Okay, whenever we are when we are not if for example the solid is more and the liquid is less, when you are dissolving and dissolving, you can see that they are not dissolvable. They'll be settling up like that only. They don't disturb the anything. Fine. If the solid particles are settling down in the solution, we can call it as an homogeneous mixture. If it is not settling down, then we can call it as heterogeneous mixture. For example, we have water and salt and kerosene and salt example, isn't it? So to have a proper combination of mixtures, we need to even know the concentrations of the solution. So here we have learned about the particles are small. We cannot see them with our naked eyes. They do not scatter the beam of light passing through the solution, and even you can say that the particles do not settle down when they left undisturbed. They do not settle down when left undisturbed. When they are when they are not settled down, then you can say that they are homogeneous mixture. So the concentration of the solution is also to be known, isn't it? So the amount of solute present in a saturated solution at a certain temperature is called its solubility. So the point where the solute and solvent both are mixing up is called as its solubility. Okay, the point at which the solute and solvent both are getting dissolved is called as solubility. For example, if we are taking 1 gram of sugar and we are adding 1 gram of sugar and 50 ml of water. Okay, now this solution is getting dissolved. At the point where it is dissolving is called its solubility, and you can see that the amount of solvent is more, so we can say that this solution is diluted. Okay, diluted solution. And for example, if you are taking 30 grams of sugar, okay, in place of this you are taking 30 grams of sugar and you are dissolving it in some amount of water, then it is called as concentrated solution. Okay, then it is called as concentrated solution. Fine, it is called as 1 gram of sugar when you are adding in water, 50 ml of water, then it is called as diluted solution. Whereas if you are adding 30 grams of sugar in a little amount of water, then it is called as concentrated solution. So example, where you have solute as less comparatively to your solvent, then it is dilute. Where you are having the solute concentration ratio is more than the solvent, then it is called as concentrated solution. So till now we have learned about the solution. We have learned about the solution is comprising of solute and solvent, isn't it? And now we have even learned about the solution is dilute solution. We have dilute solution and we have concentrated solution. Yes. Now we will learn whether the solution is saturated or unsaturated. We will learn about the saturated and unsaturated solution. Yes, we have learned about solution is of again two types, solute and solvent. It is having two components present in it. Then solution can be of dilute type or concentrated type. Suppose the water is more than it is dilute, and suppose the solute is more than it is concentrated. Now we will learn about saturated and unsaturated solutions. What is this saturated and unsaturated solution? So saturated and unsaturated solution. So what is saturated solution? When no more solute can be dissolved in a solution at a certain temperature. So however, see, if you are taking some solvent and solute and you can see that they are not dissolving further. This is the point where they are dissolved. After this point, they are not able to dissolve. That is called as saturated solution. Okay. When no more solute can be dissolved in the solution at certain temperature is called as saturated solution. Okay, it's called as saturated solution. When no more solute can be dissolved in the solution at certain temperature is called as saturated solution. For this we will do one experiment. That is, we are going to take a bowl, okay, and in that bowl we are going to take 50 ml of water. Simply we are going to take 50 ml of water in a cup. Okay, just we are taking 50 ml of water in this. Now what we are doing, we are adding one spoon of sugar. So this is 50 ml of water, and to this we are adding 1 spoon of sugar. Fine. Now you can see that you just stir it. Okay, simply you just stir it, and you can see later after a certain point this water and sugar gets dissolved. Okay, keep on adding sugar to the cup till there is no more sugar can be dissolved in it. Okay, after adding it, then add some more sugar, so that after this adding there is no other point of sugar to be dissolved in water. This formed solution is called as saturated solution. In a saturated solution, equilibrium with undissolved solute at a certain temperature is seen. Whereas, what is unsaturated solution? If the amount of solute present in the solution is less than the saturated solution, then it is called as unsaturated solution. If the amount of solute present in the solution is less than that in the saturated solution is called as the unsaturated solution. For example, what we are doing, we are just taking the whatever we got the solution. Now take the solution prepared by you in the beaker. Simply what we got in the last in the saturated solution, what we have done the sugar and water solution. We will take that. Now what we are going to do, we are going to simply heat the solution. Simply we are going to take that same cup, and we are just going to heat this solution at the, we are going to heat it at just 5 to 6 degrees centigrade. We are not going to boil it, we are just going to heat it. Okay, and then after that what you are going to do, whatever solution was not dissolved, leftover solution, you will simply see that the solution is getting dissolved. After this, again, if you are going to add some more, like 2 3 4, so many spoons, if you are going to add again, like 2 to 3 spoons of sugar, again you are adding. You have seen in the saturated solution that after adding so many like 2 to 3 spoons, you saw that the water has been saturated. There is no more solute can be dissolved in this solution. But then what you did, you just heated up, isn't it? You just started heating up. Once you started heating up at 5 to 6 degrees centigrade, 5 to 6 degrees centigrade, we are not boiling it, we are just heating up at 5 to 6 degrees centigrade, and you see that same sugar is dissolving. And when you are adding more and more sugar also, like 2 to 3 spoons more you are adding also, you can see that it is being dissolving here. So with this you can say that the solution, the saturated solution can be converted even after heating. They can become unsaturated solutions also. Okay, you notice that more sugar dissolves it in this solution easily after heating. Okay, when you heat it, you see that the solution, more and more sugar can dissolve in this. Fine. So thus we prepare an unsaturated solution. So let us learn what are the factors that affect the rate of dissolving. We have learned that the solutions are formed. In that solution we have solute and solvent, then we have again dilute and concentrated solutions. In that we have again saturated and unsaturated solutions. Now we will learn what are the effects, what are the factors that affecting the rate of dissolving of solutions. So first factor which we can see is temperature. Temperature, you saw that the saturated solution can also be converted into unsaturated solution by heating it. Okay, so that means that there is some effect of temperature. And you can see the size of the solute particles. What are the, what it depends on the size of the solute particles also. It depends on the size of the solute particles. And you can even see the stirring process. Suppose if stirring is not done, then the particles just settle down, and you can see that there is no dissolution, there is no dissolving taking place, isn't it? So if that the stirring also plays a major role here. Okay, that also affects. So we'll see that what are the effects of that. For example, we are going to do one experiment activity. We are going to see. So what we are doing, we are taking 3 beakers here, beaker 1, 2, 3. Okay, so in this beaker what we have added, in all the 3 beakers we have added 100 ml of water. And in this what we are going to do, we are going to add in each of the 3 spoons of salt. Okay, 3 spoons of salt in each beaker. Then place the first beaker undisturbed. You are not disturbing it, simply you are adding the salt here and you are keeping it like that only. Then stir the content of the second beaker. We are just stirring the second, whatever we have, the salt whatever we have added, we are just stirring it. Okay, then gently heat the third beaker. Then simply we are heating the third beaker. Simply, not that we are not boiling it, we are just heating it. Okay, so what we are doing, we are keeping it undisturbed, we are not disturbing this. Okay, and here we are stirring and here we are heating. Okay, we'll see these 3 processes. Then in all the cases the salt dissolves, but the time taken, whatever the time taken dissolves, it is different. So when the beaker is heated, the salt dissolves very quickly, because we have learned that in the unsaturated solutions, when we were reading, we have learned that on heating it dissolves very, dilution takes place very fast, dissolves fast, quickly, isn't it? And when we stir the content, the dissolves must be slower when compared to, it dissolves faster but it is slower when compared to the heating. But when we observe the undisturbed beaker, the salt dissolves but at the very slow rate, isn't it? So at the fastest rate you can see when it is heating, and a little less compared to the fastest heating, that is heating is, you can see the stirring, and very slow process is when it is kept undisturbed. It will take more time to get dissolved. So this shows that the temperature of the solvent, size of the solvent, particles, solute particles, and the heating, temperature, stirring, these 3 factors affect the rate of dissolving. Concentration of the solution can be defined as the amount in grams of solute present in 100 grams of solution, or the amount of amount in mass in grams of solute present in 100 ml of solution. For example, mass percentage of a solute, can be given by mass of the solute. Now how many grams or how many mgs you are taking, the solute which you are adding in the solution, by the total mass of the solution, into 100. This will give you the mass percentage of the solute. Okay, so as we have learned in the concentration, you have to know the solute concentration, isn't it? So that is, if you want to calculate the solution mass of the solute, you have to just take mass percentage of the solute, which is equal to mass of the solute, how much weight you are taking, how much amount of solute you are taking, by the total weight of the solution into 100. If you want to know the volume, what is the volume percentage of the solute, then you can then simply you can write it as volume of the solute by the volume of the solution. Okay, volume of the solute by volume of the solution into 100. Fine. It's very easy, children, doesn't matter, like you don't get confused. Just we are finding mass of the solute means mass of the solute by mass of the solution into 100. Volume means volume of the solute by the volume of the solution into 100. If you want to know the total mass by volume percentage of the solution, then If you want to know that of the whole solution, mass by volume of percentage of the whole solution, simply you can write it as, just write mass of the solution. We have find out the mass of the mass percentage of the solution, isn't it, solute, isn't it? And also we have find out the volume of the solute, volume percentage of the solute. Simply write that mass of the solute by mass volume of the solute into 100. This you can get the simply you can find out the mass by volume percentage of the solution. So I hope this was clear. In the next class, we'll continue with the next other topics. Till then, take care and thank you for watching. If you did not understand, please go to the video twice and try to understand the topic. And I hope it is very easy to understand. If not, please try to understand it. Go twice to the video and revise it. And if you have any doubts, please come back to me. And thank you for watching.